Hello. 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 Hello, sir. sir. ಈಗ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಲೈವ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಸರ್. 2083 ಜನ. ಎಸ್ चंद्रशंकर जी, वॉइस आ रहा है? ऑडियो वॉइस आ रहा है? हेलो, नहीं वॉइस आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा है? देखिए जूम में आ रहा है? ओके। Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. यूट्यूब वाला सर जूम ಇದೆ ಸರ್. ಹೌದಾ ಸರ್? ಅಲ್ಲ ಸರ್. ಎಸ್ ಸರ್. ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ. ಗಣೇಶ್ ಸರ್, ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಲೈವ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ? ಹೌದು ಸರ್. ಓಕೆ. ಸರ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ಸ್ 3 ಜನ ಸರ್, ಈಗಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಅವರು. ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ 3 ಜನ. ಒಂದು ಹುಡುಗಿ ಸರ್, ಇನ್ನ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಆ ಹುಡುಗಿ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇನ್ನಿಬ್ಬರು ಸರ್. ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್.
Good afternoon.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah,
good afternoon.
Good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon. Oh, good afternoon to Dr. Girish Revadigarji.
Namaste, sir. Good afternoon.
Welcome to our program. Feeling very happy to see you here on the Zoom platform.
Thank you very much for invitation, sir. I'm happy.
Really feeling excited to have you on the platform here. Dr. Arun Kumar.
Yes, sir.
Please start with the proceedings.
Yes, sir. Professor Tayagravar, over to you.
आप अनम्यूट करिए. छाया ग्रोवर मैडम कुछ बोल रहे हैं. Not able to hear you. Chaya Grover madam is saying something. We are not able to hear her. Ask her to unmute,
Yes,
please.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, now you are audible.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon and welcome to all of you to the webinar on emerging trends in electronics, communication and information technology, organized by the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, JSS80 Noida. I am Chaya Grover, Associate Professor in the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, JSS80 Noida. I'll be your host for today's sessions. For those of you just joining us on YouTube, hello and welcome to today's session. It is my great privilege and honor to welcome Dr. G.M. Patil, Principal, JSS Academy of Technical Education, Noida, Dr. Girish Rivadigar and Dr. Vipin Balyan. Our experts for today's sessions, Dr. Arun Kumar Ji, HODEC, JSSAT Noida, Dr. R.S. Jagdish, Dean Academics, JSSAT Noida, Dr. S.S. Shirur, Registrar, JSSAT Noida, all deans, head of the departments, and dear participants. We have put our best efforts to structure and tailor this webinar to accomplish its objective of providing participants with the most up-to-date technological developments in electronics, communication, and information technology. We sincerely hope that these 5 days will prove to be beneficial for all the participants. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the chat box in your Zoom control panel or comment section in YouTube. I'll bring them up at the end. I now invite Dr. Arun Kumar Ji, HODEC, to brief us about the webinar. Over to Dr. Arun Kumar Ji.
Thank you, Professor. Good afternoon, everyone. I offer my humble pranam to the lotus feet of His Holiness Jagadguru Sri Shivaratri Deshikendra Mahaswami Ji, the 24th Pontiff of Sri Sutturmad, Mysore, and seek his divine blessings. At the outset, I am glad to welcome our beloved Principal, Dr. G.M. Patil, our esteemed speakers, Dr. Girish Revadiga from Singapore, and Dr. Vipin Balyan from South Africa, our Dean Academics, Dr. R.S. Jagdish, Registrar Dr. S.S. Shuru, Dean R&D, Dean Students Welfare, and HODs of various departments, and also I welcome all the participants. In this international webinar, total number of participants are 2083, out of which 24 participants are from abroad. I wish all the very best to the participants, hoping you will make use of this opportunity to the fullest. I take this immense pleasure to convey my gratitude to management and principal, chief administrative officer, account officer, dean academics, registrar for giving our department an opportunity to organize 1 week international webinar on emerging trends in electronics and communication and information technology. Thank you, madam. Over to you, Professor Chaya.
Thank you, sir. You have guided us in the right direction and we appreciate your meticulous planning for this webinar. May I now invite Dr. G.M. Patil, Principal, JSSAT Noida, to address the participants. Over to Dr. G.M. Patil.
At the outset, I extend my pranams to the lotus feet of His Holiness Mahaswamiji, Jagadguru Sri Sri Shivaratri Deshikendra Mahaswamiji, the Pontiff of JSS Mat, Mysuru, and President Jagadguru Sri Shivaratri Mahavidyapitha, Mysuru, and seek his divine blessings for all of us present here for making this event a great success and memorable one. The divine blessings of His Holiness Mahaswamiji has been the source of inspiration and beacon of light for all of us here in this JSS Academy of Technical Education Noida campus for making the events we undertake in this campus a great success and achieve the new benchmark of standards in all the endeavors of ours in this campus. I am indeed delighted and have the honor and privilege to be part of this event, the inauguration of the 5 days international webinar series on emerging trends in electronics and communication and information technology, organized by the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering of our institution, JSS Academy of Technical Education Noida, under the able leadership of Dr. Arun Kumar Ji, the head of the EC department, and with the team of the organizing committee members from his department, Chaya Grover, Associate Professor, Dr. B.P. Mishra, Sangeeta Mangesh, Dr. Gayatri Sakhya, and Dr. Chandra Shankar. I feel honored and indeed very happy to congratulate Dr. Arun Kumar Ji, head of the EC department, and his team of the organizing committee members and all the faculty members there for taking the pains to organize this program. And today this program is being launched. I'm feeling very proud. I would like to congratulate for their efforts. It has been the challenging time for all of us. Very challenging time for all of us in India and globally, caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. We all are aware that this pandemic is an upheaval experience, sudden changes, and the bizarre situation, highly unpredictable and unusual situation we are going through. And despite having all these challenges, the process of learning, the process of making achievements, the process of growing the profession, the process of keeping connected with the academic community, the researchers, and the industry experts to keep going continuously and share knowledge can't stop. The learning has to go on. And this challenging task during this difficult time of the pandemic has been successfully answered by the Department of EC in my institution under the able leadership of Dr. Arun Kumar Ji and his faculty members.
Thank you, sir.
I'm very proud. I'm very proud that they have made the efforts to, plan this activity in a befitting manner. I'm very proud of the head of the department and his team of faculty members. And it is very heartening to see, he has been updating me about the registration, coming from the different states in my country and internationally. As he said, that I have the data with me, total registrations we have been able to get the response from 2083. The highest number of registrations I have seen for all the programs we conducted so far in my campus. I think they registered more than 2,000 in the CSE department, and 700 plus were from the UP state. And now I am very proud. Rather, I want to keep everybody in competition so that we keep achieving the higher results and set the new benchmark of standard. One day, my CSE department was the top. They are always, all departments are on top. I don't want to discriminate here. But today, the Department of EC has set the new benchmark of standard by getting response from 2,083 participants from all over the world. Out of 2,083 participants, From India, we have been able to get the response from 2015 9, and 24 participants are from outside the country. The participation from outside the country, the number 24 we have achieved is highest of all the responses we got for the programs we conducted by the various departments in the JCT Noida campus. I congratulate Dr. Arun Kumar ji and his team of faculty members. It is a big challenge. So huge response, mammoth response, and everybody should get the response, should get the message, should get the details about the program, and he has taken the help from all the faculty members and made the groups and subgroups, and they all are having the the different different groups with whom they are connected, and everybody, we could handle 500 on our Zoom platform as per the technical specifications of the Zoom platform we have, but it was our earnest desire that we will not make any of the participants who have shown the interest to attend this program, because the topic being of great interest for the electronics and communication, electrical engineering, electrical and electronics engineering, and the information technology branch. It is a highly multidisciplinary program that they conducted, and everyone we wanted to honor, because during this pandemic, the productivity that we can produce is by learning, is by coming on a common platform, sharing the thoughts, enrich your knowledge, keep moving forward. And this challenge, I am very proud that it has been successfully met and is being implemented, and the program is getting inaugurated today. That credit that the credit of achieving this target and meeting the renewed and the high standards of the benchmark, that is fulfilled by the EC department under the able leadership of Dr. Arun Kumar ji. I request all of them present here, all the delegates and my colleagues and the delegates from India and abroad, please join me in giving the big round of applause to Dr. Arun Kumar ji and his team of faculty members in the EC department for this wonderful achievement. I would like to see that we do keep improving. He has now achieved something very new and something very great. I am very proud of Dr. Arun Kumar ji and his faculty members. From outside the India, it's the highest. Outside the India, it's highest number. Earlier programs we got, some programs we got 9, some programs we got 10, some programs we got 15, but 24. He has gone around the world, and he has reached out to everybody, and this is a response. It is about his efforts. It is about the topic he has chosen, and for the amount of efforts he has put to put his team together, brainstorm, identify the topic, and get the best experts from the globe is another big challenge he has answered. So, from outside the country, I have from Sultanate of Oman, 17 participants, from China 1, from Singapore we have participants, from Germany we have, from Malaysia we have, from Pakistan we have, from Rwanda we have, from Canada we have, from Albania we have, from all these countries we have participants. It's heartening that, the name of JSS Academy of Technical Education Noida, the name of the Department of ECE, the name of our organization getting projected and reaching out to all these countries is in itself a great achievement for all of us. I am very proud of Dr. Arun Kumar ji and our team of faculty members. And today for this event, we have the resource person, Dr. Girish Revadigar. He has done his BTech and Masters from Vishwesvaraya Technological University in Belgaum, Karnataka State. I welcome you, sir, heartily for this program. On my own behalf, on behalf of the EC department, on behalf of the JCT Noida campus and management, extend you hearty welcome. I am very proud that you have given your consent on the the invitation extended by the EC department of my institution, and you are here today. He is the personality internationally renowned, and he has done his doctorate from he's a senior researcher at the Hawaii International Private Limited, Singapore. His research interests are cybersecurity, IoT, and autonomous vehicles, and applied cryptography. He got his PhD in computer science and engineering from UNSW University, Sydney, Australia. And I'm also told that when Dr. Arun Kumar met me, he explained that his family, his family is also a scientist, and she is a doctorate in a prestigious university from Australia, and from Singapore. And I am very proud that I look forward for a time that I will be able to meet Dr. Girish Revadikar with his family in my campus. We are all praying God for their safety and good health. Dr. Girish Revadikar and his family. And I'm looking forward for a time that, we meet you, sir, in my campus. We celebrate, our achievements. We can collaborate on the research topics of interest for you and my institution. We can collaborate for the student exchange. We can collaborate for the faculty exchange. We can carry on the projects together in a win-win fashion. I am very confident God will, bless us all with the strength and the energy, the safety and health that we will be out of the pandemic in the near future. And look forward that while we continue our efforts to meeting on the platform, on the virtual, way in this, online platform, we look forward that we meet personally. We will come down to Singapore to see you in your laboratory there. We will sign the MOU and we will take forward our research interest and work together, benefit your laboratory in Singapore, benefit our, the research community, the academicians here, and my students at the JCT Noida campus. I, on my own behalf, on behalf of the EC department and the JCT Noida campus and our management, extend you hearty welcome, sir. Girish Revadikar ji. Welcome you to our program, sir. And another resource person for today's program is Dr. Bipin Balen, who received a BTech degree in Electronics and Communication with honors in 2003, and a MTech degree in Electronics and Networking from La Trobe University, Bundura, Melbourne, Australia in 2006, and he received his PhD degree in 2013. And he worked as a stint in JP education system, and he is currently working as a senior lecturer in the Department of Electrical and Electronics and Computer Engineering at Cape Peninsula University of Technology, Cape Town, South Africa. Sir, we are very proud, and you have been very kind that when our, the convener in the EC department, Dr. Arun Kumar ji, head of the EC department, approached you for inviting you as a resource person for this program. You have been very kind and given your consent. Today you are going to address us all. I, on my own behalf, on behalf of our campus, our management, extend you hearty welcome for this program, sir. And we look forward that we will have the occasions in the future that we meet up and discuss and carry forward the research and the joint research program in the coming years. Dr. Bipin Balen has published more than 50 research papers and received the Young Researcher rating in 2019 from National Research Foundation, South Africa. It is really very great and heartening to know your achievements in the South Africa. And he received his Erasmus Plus and ICM Erasmus funding in 2018 for collaboration with the Technical University Sofia, Bulgaria, and the University of Paris in Paris. He is closely associated with the French South African Technology Institute for satellites in South Africa. His research area includes NOMAD and LoRa, low power, the devices for communication in satellite communication. It's a really very excellent program that is being organized by the Department of EC department under the able leadership of Dr. Arun Kumar ji. It is a proud moment for me, and irrespective of, I don't know whether I should share it here or not, but yet I am not able to resist myself that I belong to the EC family. For me, my all families, my all fraternities, my all faculties institution are very dear and very near to me. But it is also necessary that I quote that is my area of interest, and I'm associated as professor. I am principal here. I'm a faculty on the Department of EC and a researcher and a practicing scientist, work with all of you. I am feeling very proud to share about myself with you all. I extend a hearty welcome to Dr. Bipin Balanji, and I would like to congratulate Dr. Arun Kumar ji for this great achievement and the honor he has got for the institution. Here I see from my country, from Karnataka state, we have 794 participants, highest in number from Karnataka state. And Earlier, we have witnessed that from Uttar Pradesh state, we got the highest participation. And this time I see for this program, 794 is the highest, and that is from Karnataka state. From Uttar Pradesh state, where I'm situated, my institution is a premier organization in the Delhi NCR and the state of Uttar Pradesh. And I get the best talent of the state of Uttar Pradesh in my college. Many of my students have done the internship in Stanford University, and they have done the internship in the International Institute of Communication Technology of United Nations Organization, Geneva. And some of my students, Mr. Devam Spodar in the mechanical department, has been recognized as the mentor of change by the National Institute of Transforming India, Niti Aayog Government of India. We have many honors and accolades to this institution. My 4 students, Shashwat, Siddharth, and Pranjal, Pranjal Gupta, and Mr. Piyush Jain, they have participated in presenting a paper in Singapore in the Singapore Space Challenge held on 7th February 2020. And that was one of the 75 projects we selected from all over the world. And they got this honor at the international level. Their project was on mitigating the debris in the near Earth orbit, which is the biggest challenge today. We don't have space in the near Earth orbit to launch the satellite unless we eliminate, remove the debris which is is there in the near Earth orbit, and some of the decommissioned satellites. On this, the project was submitted by our students, and they presented their project in the Singapore Space Challenge on 7th February 2020. I can go on and on, but the time limit restricts me from sharing few of the very important achievements of my campus and my students and faculty. Sir, we have the best talented students, the best talent of Uttar Pradesh state, and we are recognized as the premier. We are in the second position in the state of Uttar Pradesh by the World Education the survey agency, one of the survey agency, and we are in the 250 band in the National Institutional Ranking Framework of Ministry of Human Resource Development, MHRD Government of India. And 14 of our projects have been elevated to the presentation, the proof of concept, the POC at AICTE, and we have the 4 golden star ranking in the Institutional Innovation Council under the Institutional Innovation Cell of MHRD Government of India. 14 of our projects are elevated to the proof of concept level, and I am confident this is being coordinated by Dr. Sampath in the EC department, and I am confident with the presentation of the proof of concept by our students, I will be getting the 5-star ranking for the institution under the Institutional Innovation Council. Our students are innovative and creative, and they have earned the honors and laurels for us. Without taking much of your time, I said I can go on and on, but the time restricts me from taking much time on this platform. The delegates, they are waiting for the program to be launched and waiting to hear Mr. Dr. Girish Revadigar. We all are waiting to hear him. Without taking much of your time, sir, I am feeling honored that you have accepted our invitation and here with us. I once again congratulate Dr. Arun Kumarji and his team for this wonderful achievement, and extend warm welcome to Dr. Girish Revadigar from Singapore, who has joined us here and is on the platform, on the Zoom platform. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Dr. R.S. Jagdish in academics in my college for his untiring efforts. I also congratulate Dr. Dr. S.S. Shirur, registrar in my institution, who takes care to interface with our university and will have our process published on the university website and do all the efforts to make it visible at the university level. I congratulate Dr. S.S. Shirur, and I would like to thank the head of the EC department, Dr. Arun Kumarji, and the convener of this program for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share my views on this occasion. I congratulate Dr. Arun Kumarji. Wish you all a great success with this program, a great success. Thank you, one and all. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Under your guidance, we are fostering the culture of innovation in our campus and exploring on how technology can support several aspects of learning. Your address goes a long way in inspiring us to strive hard and achieve more. I now invite Dr. R.S. Jagdish, Dean Academics, JSS-CET Noida, to address the participants. Over to Dr. Jagdish.
ಹೌದಾ? ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ.
So good afternoon to everyone. With the divine blessings of His Holiness, JSS Mahavidyapeetham, respected principal, chief guest of today's inauguration ceremony, Dr. Girish Revdigad, and also Dr. Vipin Balyan, national and international participants, academic and administrative colleagues from JSS Academy of Technical Education, and friends. Indeed, it is a great pleasure to be a part of this unique national webinar on emerging in electronics, communication, and information technology, organized by Electronics and Communication Department, JSS Academy of Technical Education, NIDA.
What do you want to tell me?
This topic is most relevant at this point of time.
You make somebody else as a co-host.
We have all the speakers are from that
No,
two
you
are
select the name.
limited. This is a very nice to see this, and I'm confident that all the participants gain knowledge and 1 week webinar. And the same thing will be discussed by students and professors. I would like to congratulate HOD EC Dr. Arun Kumar and his department faculty members for their meticulous planning to organize this workshop. I would like to congratulate and wish all the best for all the participants and resource persons for joining this webinar. Finally, I would like to express my profound gratitude to our beloved principal for his constant support, motivation, guidance to all the HODs, deans, and faculty members, so that as a team, we could able to conduct more than 30 webinars in the last 1.5 months. Thank you very much, sir. All the best to each and everyone.
Thank you, sir. I express my appreciation for your inspiring words. I now invite Dr. S.S. Shirur, Registrar, JSSAT, Noida, to address the participants. Over to Dr. Shirur.
Good afternoon to one and all of dignitaries who have joined through Zoom, and as well as delegates joined through YouTube. So as a registrar, it is delighted to announce here that from last 3 months, April, May, June, our college is conducting so many programs for the outside professional world. So under the leadership of our principal, in our campus, every day, one or the other international and national level programs are going online. So in this moment, I congratulate our beloved principal, sir, for your guidance and motivation. Then all the departments are conducting programs one or the other on everyday basis, sir. So I welcome Dr. Girish, today's speaker, as well as the chief guest of inaugural function. On behalf of JSS Academy of Technical Education and on my behalf, I welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
So in program by program, we are improving in different dimensions. Especially earlier when we have started in the month of April, we started with participants of less than 100. But program by program, we are improving and we are achieving the milestones. In this webinar, international webinar conducted by the EC department, 2 milestones we have achieved. One, we have crossed more than 2,000 participants in this webinar. And second, all the 11 speakers are from international. Earlier, we have 50% of national and 50% of international speakers. Then in this program, all are from international. These are the 2 milestones we have achieved in this program. I congratulate EC department, HOD, as well as organizers for this program. I congratulate on behalf of management and on our behalf and I will wish all the best for remaining 5 days of this webinar. Thank you. Thank you very much. Over to Chaya Madam.
Thank you, sir. Our sincere thanks for supporting us in
Thank
all
you.
our endeavors. Moving right along, I'd like to give a quick introduction of today's expert one for this session. Although he has been introduced by Principal Sir in his welcome speech, a quick introduction for all those who have joined us late in this webinar. Dr. Girish Rewadigar is a senior researcher at UAE International Private Limited, Singapore. His research interests are cybersecurity for IoT and autonomous vehicles and applied cryptography. Dr. Girish earned his PhD in Computer Science and Engineering from UNSW Sydney, Australia, and completed Masters and Bachelors in Engineering from Visvesvaraya Technological University, Karnataka. Before joining UAE, he was a research associate at UNSW Sydney and postdoctoral research fellow at SUTD Singapore. Prior to joining for PhD, he also worked as a senior software engineer in the field of design and development of automotive embedded systems, infotainment systems, and short-range wireless networks. Dr. Girish has won many national and international awards for his novel research. He was one of the top 200 most qualified young researchers selected from all over the world for attending the prestigious Heidelberg Laureate Forum 2016. He is a technical program committee member for various well-known international conferences and serves as a reviewer for many top-tier international conferences and journals. He is also a member of IEEE and ACM. His topic for today's session is Secure Key Generation and Sharing Protocol for Smart Wearables. Now, without further ado, I invite Dr. Girish Rewadigar to start the session. Over to Dr. Girish.
Thank you, madam. And I thank Principal Sir, GM Patil Sir, and Dr. Arun Kumar, Head of the Department, for giving me a wonderful opportunity to showcase my previous research. And I hope this will raise more interest in my Indian friends. And I hope this will be a good opportunity to learn more about what's happening outside India also. And it's an opportunity to know more people and get connected. So we can take this opportunity to get connected to the external world, and hope this will be a useful event for all of us. And may I share my screen now for the screen?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, so am I audible and my screen is visible now?
Yes, sir, you are very much audible.
Okay. Namaste and good afternoon to everyone. And I welcome all of you for this wonderful international webinar arranged by the SS Academy. This is a very good initiative, and I'm honored to be the first person to start this session with my sharing my innovative research ideas, which I had conducted during my PhD. So today's research topic, what I'm going to present is the secure key generation and sharing protocol for smart wearables. So currently, as Madam has already explained, I am a senior researcher at Huawei International Limited. And I would like to inform you all that this is the work which I had finished during my PhD. And this work was done along with my colleagues, Chitra, Waitao, Thanos, and Venhu, and my supervisor, Sanjay Jha. And this work has already been accepted and published publicly in a top tier A-star ranked security conference, which is Transactions on Information Forensics and Security. Later, in case if someone wants to know more details, this paper is available online and they can download and read this for more details. And also another note is that this work is the work which I completed prior to joining my current affiliation. So coming to the brief introduction about before we move on to the technical details. So we are now in today's discussion, we are talking about the security of smart wearables. So when we say the term smart wearables, we already aware of this and we are using many of them in our day-to-day life. For example, this is not only for fancy, but they really have some very good applications like in personalized healthcare, fitness or sports applications, etc. And when we say that we have these more than one devices which we carry every day with us, they are indeed exchanging many useful information with each other and also with the external cloud. And that sensitive information may be vulnerable for attacks from the adversaries. So this is the real scenario, and this is a real threat. So that nowadays in a connected world, what we call as the internet of world, everything and every device is connected to the external world. And we should be very careful, and we should take appropriate measures to secure our devices, our sensitive data, so that we will be protected from any of the threats which are coming from the external attacks. Hence, secure communication is essential to protect the sensitive information, whatever is exchanged between these personal devices we carry every day. And when we think about a practical scenario, every one of us at least carry a mobile phone, and many of us nowadays even wear a smartwatch. And even the smart glasses like Google Glass are also very popular nowadays. And when we say these things, so obviously they exchange information with each other. And when I explained to you before that a secure communication is required to protect the information exchange between these variable devices, then how do we protect the information that is exchanged between these devices? As the solution is simple. It means they should have a secret key that is shared between all the devices a person carries. And this should be known only to the legitimate devices of a person. Then only all the information that is exchanged between these devices can be encrypted, and only the legitimate device can decrypt and decode the information. And that's how we can secure the communication and our sensitive data. And now the next biggest challenge is we know that we need a key, but how to generate this secret key? This is a very important and very challenging task. It is challenging because of two factors. First thing is, in order to generate a secret key, we should have a very good source of randomness, which is not predictable, and that should be available to all the devices. It means only if we have a good source of randomness that can be used as a material to generate a secret key that cannot be cracked by an attacker by using the brute force mechanism. That's why we need a good source of randomness. And next challenge is finding a common feature among all the devices to share a secret key. So whenever we say that we want to share something with a group of devices, we need at least some feature which is common. That's the main motivation. We treat this as a method of sharing the information between all the devices we have. So that's why the two things, we need to have a good randomness. The second one, we need a common feature among all the variable devices we have. So to address this practical problem, what we did is our solution was a very novel and first of its kind. We already know that all our devices nowadays have a very common and simple sensor called as accelerometer. So it is there in almost all the devices today we use. Even it is there in the implanted devices also. So it's a very versatile device sensor you can find in any devices nowadays. Any electronic and IoT device will be equipped with the accelerometer sensor nowadays. And we also make use of one particular trait, which is called as gait. It means every person, whenever he walks, he will have a unique style of walking. It is similar to a unique signature. So every person will have a unique signature. So no one can try to write the same signature as others. Similarly, it is one of the trait which every person possesses. It is called as gait. So we make use of these two things, and we come up with a novel solution that will help us to generate a secret key and also a method to securely distribute this key to all the variable devices we have. So we also proposed a mechanism to securely share this key that employs a fuzzy vault mechanism. Fuzzy vault is a cryptographic primitive. We make use of this primitive and we add our solution on top of this. And that's how we come up with a new solution that will help us to generate a key first and then distribute to all the devices. In the end, in order to verify whether the solution what we have done is good enough or whether it will answer all the practical questions or it is secure enough or not, we implemented our solution on off-the-shelf devices. We bought real devices, real wearable devices based on Android platform. We implemented our solution on them And we conducted extensive experiments with multiple users in multiple scenarios. And then our results show that the solution what we have proposed is really a usable solution. And that is the need of today's world. So now we go on to the technical details of our solutions. So for our solution, we assume certain things that at least there is one mobile phone that every one of us carry today. That is there for sure. And we call this smartphone as a hub. And if there are any other wearable devices other than smartphone, for example, it can be a smartwatch or a smart glass, or it can be another wearable, smart wearable, or it can be even an implanted device. As long as it has accelerometers and a capability to talk to another device wirelessly, that is considered as another wireless and a wearable device. And we assume that every device has a unique ID that is even either given by the vendor or given by the solution deployment team. And in this particular assumption, or in this particular experimental setup, what we have used this, all of these devices have a Bluetooth capability. So it means they can connect to each other via Bluetooth wireless solution. So the threat model or the type of attacker we considered in this work are of two types. The first one is passive eavesdropper, other one is an impersonation attack. So passive eavesdropper is the adversary who is aware of this scheme because he knows how the solution works. And he has exactly the same number of devices and similar mechanisms. He is aware what to follow whenever the legitimate devices are working in the background. And he also can overhear all the communication between the legitimate devices. So this is an assumption of a passive eavesdropper. And now coming to the impersonation attack, this kind of attacker is the one who tries to mimic the style of the user by wearing the same type of devices at the same time when the legitimate user is walking. And also he's able to capture the communication between the legitimate devices. So this is the two types of attacker we consider in this work. And let's see what our solution looks like and how we evaluated this. So as I mentioned, there are two parts in our solution. First thing is we need to first generate a secret key. And next is we need to share them secretly with the other devices. So now we talk about the first part, the key generation. In this part, what we did is our solution mainly considers hub or the smartphone as the main feature or main device because it is equipped with many more solutions, and also it has great resources, so it can do many more things compared to the other devices because the other devices can be less capable of doing some of these cryptographic operations. But compared to the other wearable devices, mobile phone is the one which is having more resources and it is capable of doing more complex tasks. So we decided that hub will generate a secret key first, and then it will disseminate this key to the other devices in a secure way. So in order to generate the secret key, what we did is we already mentioned that we make use of accelerometer sensor data. And this sensor is always active in all the devices, and it will keep measuring the acceleration in three directions, X, Y, and Z. Whenever the device moves, every time the device is changing its dimension or the direction or the movement from one place to another place, every time whenever there is a change in the movement of this data, all this XYZ information of the accelerometer will be captured and logged. So what we did is that we captured accelerometer data in almost all the types of activities. For example, whenever a user is walking or running or even using in day-to-day life, or even in some time when it is kept stable on the table. So when we looked at all this data, we analyzed and considered that there are certain situations. We selected only those kind of situations when there is a high level of randomness in the activity. So that is the place when we receive the acceleration data, which is highly random and it is not predictable. So we selected only those portions of the accelerometer data. And then we applied a concept called as quantization. Quantization, as you already aware, that it is similar to the term applied to any other context. it is a mechanism which will convert a continuous signal into a discrete signal. Means when we have this accelerometer data, it looks like very random, but how do we generate a stream of bits? Because ideally for any secret key, a key is nothing but a combination of zeros and ones. So we need to generate a secret key. We use multi-level quantization mechanism, which will convert this continuous XYZ accelerometer data into a bit stream. I will not go into detail about the quantization mechanism. If you want more details, please refer to our paper. I will just try to explain the whole concept so that you will have overall idea how the solution works, so that if you are interested, you can always refer to our paper and gain more knowledge about the technical details. So when we use quantization mechanism to quantize the accelerometer data in 3 directions, X, Y, and Z, we usually get 3 different streams of bits. For example, for X, Y, and Z, we get Kx, Ky, and Kz. So these 3 are the different streams we got after quantizing the XYZ data. And then we merged these 3 streams, bit streams, what we generated randomly, in order to generate one single bit stream, and that we call it as key K. So this is the key we use for our future communication and encrypting and decrypting the future communication. So now we see how the key distribution can be done. So when we say that we also make use of the person's walking style, then there is a reason for this. Because whenever a person is moving and all the devices are worn by him, the devices are no doubt measuring the accelerometer data in X, Y, and Z direction. But when you look at the raw data, it looks like very random and you can't do anything with it. For this, what we come up with a novel idea that we try to extract a common feature, because a common feature is the one which we wanted to make use of sharing the secret key to all the devices. So we wanted to extract one common feature on all the wearable devices. So what we did is we employed a solution or a mechanism called as independent component analysis, ECA. ICA is nothing but it is the process in which, suppose if we have a combined source, or data or sensor data, or it can be even, example, you can take it as audio data. When there are more than 2 people are speaking and you capture the whole audio simultaneously, then the captured audio looks like it is a combination of both the parties speaking together at the same time. But using this type of independent component analysis, we can effectively separate out the audio of 2 people. And now we have distinct features that we have extracted from the combined data what we have. So we followed the similar mechanism to our XYZ characteristics of the accelerometer sensor. But this time, what we extracted is we extracted the feature or the sensor data, which is along the vertical direction. Means minus G is the one which is along the vertical direction, means opposite to the, because acceleration will be anyway always towards the earth, but now we calculate the one which is opposite in the vertical direction, minus G. So we calculated this temporal alignment of the sensor data first, because there are too many devices worn on the body, but we first need to synchronize all the data in some sense. The only way, which is very intuitive for us, is whenever a person walks, the main characteristics what is intuitive for us is the synchronization can be done by using the heel strike event, because whenever a person strikes his heel, we can see a surge in the accelerometer data, and we can notice, yes, this is the point where his heel strike was noted. So we extracted these different points of heel strike on different devices, and then we extracted the acceleration along minus G. And as I informed about independent component analysis, please note that this independent component analysis is applicable to certain devices which are worn on wrist only. Why? Because suppose if the person is wearing a smartphone on the waist, then it is easy to extract the acceleration in the vertical direction. But if the person is wearing a smart watch, which is also having acceleration data. And when a person is moving, it is obvious that his hands move freely. And this will add more randomness to the accelerometer data, what we already have. So this makes the process more complicated. So now what we did is we employed independent component analysis and then extracted only the acceleration, which is along minus g. So you see the first diagram here. So the red graph line, what you see here is the saffron graph is the one which you see the raw acceleration captured on the wrist worn device. And the blue one is the one which is acceleration extracted along minus g on the waist. It means the device worn on waist is the smartphone. When we employed independent component analysis to the raw data on the wrist worn device, now you can clearly see that the data what we obtained is more or less same as the acceleration obtained on the waist device. This is due to the extensive signal processing mechanisms we developed, and we extracted only the useful information on two devices. And the second graph will show you how we detected the heel strike event on different devices acceleration data so that we can synchronize the patterns. And the third graph will show you how the data will look like after the synchronized data. Now coming to the overview of the protocol for the key distribution. So now we finished with the first part, key generation. And now we talk about the second part, which is key sharing. So as I mentioned already, we also make use of a cryptographic primitive called as fuzzy vault in our solution. So the overall solution will be like this. First, hub, we already have generated a secret key on hub. In order to send that key to all the other devices, the hub will perform a function called as vault locking. Let's see what the vault locking consists of. So the first part in the vault locking is polynomial construction. So in polynomial construction, what we do is we take the key k, which we already developed, and we divide the whole key into a chunks of, let's say, 4 or 5 bits. In this example, we have considered 4 bits, but it can be any number of bits. And for each bit, we treat this as one of the coefficient. And using these coefficients, we have to generate a polynomial, and the whole polynomial itself will represent the secret key embedded in the polynomial. So this is a very important part and the beginning part of the vault locking. And then we need to construct a set A. A set A is nothing but it's like a set of points. A point in general consists of two notations, X and Y. For example, a point in two-dimensional area looks like X and Y. So what we did is we quantized the signal along minus G, and we generated a valid set of indexes. A valid set of index is the one, which means, suppose in the previous stage I mentioned to you, yeah, this is the quantization. And each quantization will have a band called as guard band. So this is the band where if there is any data in the guard band, we will discard this data during key generation. That will help us to extract only the parts which is above and below the guard band, and we can somehow guarantee the randomness of the quality in the key generated. And now we come to the construction of set A. The set A is a sample, is a set of valid sample indexes. It means this is the index number, for example, 0 to 25. In this particular window, we have 25 accelerometer sensor data. And in between in the guard band, we omitted something. So whatever is left, only these bits, these sensor signals and their corresponding indexes. So these index numbers, they form set A. And the next step is vault construction. So how do we construct vault? We generate a set P where it consists of two things. A is nothing but a valid index, and the projection of this index on the polynomial. So this is important to understand clearly. So the set P consists of valid index and the projection of this on the polynomial. So now, after the end of this phase, we have set P, which looks like a set of points in X and Y, having the X and Y components in the two-dimensional space. Now, what we need to do is that now we got only the valid points. But if we share this information to the other devices in a wireless channel, there is a possibility that an attacker will attack this message and he can extract this information. So what we need to do is that we should add some misguiding information or some non-useful information to this set P. We call it as chaff points. It means they are not the real points, but they look like real points. So for an adversary, it looks like that it may be a real point, but he cannot differentiate between a real point and a fake point we have added. So altogether, we are increasing the number of points we are going to send to the legitimate devices, so that if the attacker hacks this message, he will not get what is a valid point we want to share with the other variable devices. So when we add these chaff points, the end points, the final output, what we get is a vault, which is simply a union of this P and the chaff points what we add. So at the end of this phase, we have a vault, and we need to send this vault to the other devices. So this vault is sent securely to the other devices over Bluetooth connection. And the other devices apply a mechanism called as vault unlocking. So what they do is they apply independent component analysis for the smartwatch only, because only the wrist need to extract the independent component. Other devices, they can straight away extract the acceleration in the vertical direction, -g. And whatever they got after the quantization is a set called as set B. We had set A with a smartphone, and now all the other devices have their own set B. So now let's see how they extract the secret key. So they do a term or the process called as reconstructing the polynomial. For reconstructing the polynomial, what they do is they extract the elements of B from V. So they got a vault. From the vault, they already have their own valid indexes P. So they make use of these two information, and then they apply a Lagrange interpolation method so that they reconstruct the polynomial. Only the legitimate devices can reconstruct the polynomial using Lagrange interpolation, because only they will have a real feature that is embedded in the acceleration data. Suppose if there is another person wearing the same device, walking with the same style, he cannot produce the same accelerometer data, and he cannot apply or generate the same polynomial by applying the Lagrange interpolation, even though he follows the same mechanism of decoding this T. And after decoding this Lagrange polynomial, we can extract easily the secret key, because secret key is nothing but simply the coefficients concatenated together to form one final big string. So this page will show you the same process which I explained to you in an algorithmic manner. And then already we talked about this process. The hub broadcasts a verification process, because we need to verify whether the secret sharing was successful or not. For that, the hub broadcasts a message called as verification request by including the message authentication code of this verification request using the secret key K as the K for generating the MAC. Message authentication code is the one which we generally construct using the secure hash function, SHA-256, which is a very widely used cryptographic primitive for hash functions. And this verification request, indeed, it consists of, again, 3 parameters. One is a challenge. It means an identifier to let the other devices know that what kind of message it is. And it consists of the hub, the ID of the hub, and a nonce created by the hub, because the nonce is the one which will satisfy the freshness requirement of the each connection. Whenever there's a new connection, we have to use a new nonce to make sure that we are not reusing the previous data, or even it's not a replay attack by an adversary. So devices, when they receive this information, they can now calculate the MAC using this verification request. This K is the one which the devices have generated by their own. And if and only if the devices are legitimate and worn on the same body, then the K extracted by the other legitimate devices will be equal to the key generated by the hub, which is the smartphone. So in this case, we can say that successfully we have shared the secret key between all the variable devices. And if this is true, then all the devices, they send back an acknowledgement to the hub saying that, okay, we got the secret key successfully. And now I will show you some of the graphs, how the outputs look like and what are the parameters we verified to check whether the solution, what we did is correct or it is as per the requirements of the standards or not. So first, we already mentioned about this because accelerometer sensor is the one which will keep generating data always, but we don't know which of this data is useful and which of this we should use for generating secret keys. We already talked about another idea that we need to have the data which should be sufficiently random. Then how to select a random data? We come up with a mechanism of using the root mean square of this accelerometer data. We divided the whole sensor data into multiple windows, small windows. And for each window, we calculated the root mean square. And we set a particular threshold, for example, 1.5. This is the minimum threshold that suffices. The output selected only in this region will have high random data. Because when this process or solution is running on a device, we cannot see how the data looks like. It is only the device who has the raw data. And they have to take decision whether to use this data or discard this part of data. That's why using this root mean square method will help the data to decide which part of the sensor data they should use and which part they will discard. And we also calculated root mean square, how it looks like for different kind of activities. For example, when a person is walking, when the person is running, or he's doing just low mobility scenarios. And also if the device is just kept on a table or the person is resting. So in these different scenarios, what we observe is only during high activity cases, means walking or running, we observe that the root mean square of the sensor data is higher than the threshold what we set. It means only this is the data which is suitable for generating the secret key. Yes, we did that. And then we also estimated the approximate entropy analysis. Approximate entropy analysis is required because in every quantization, we know that the sensor data is a raw data, but we need to decide how many bits, secret bits we should generate from each sensor data. For that, we cannot simply assign some random number of bits to each sensor sample, but we have to come up with a proper solution that will guarantee the randomness of the final key generated, and that is secure enough for practical usage. So for that, we did an approximate entropy analysis. So we applied this entropy analysis for all the different cases, like running, walking, low mobility, and everything. And we fixed a window of 50 samples for analyzing the approximate entropy. So this will tell us like how many number of bits can be generated from each sample for a different use case. For example, in a running case, if the person is running, so we can easily extract up to 4 or 6 bits from each accelerometer data, depending on how many window size you want to use. So this is the way how you have to interpret this graph. And now coming to the results, we also analyzed, someone may have a question like, okay, yes, you already generated a secret key, but how do you say that the key is useful or it is good enough for practical usage? There is a method to evaluate this also, and thanks to the NIST, NIST organization, so they have come up with a set of evaluations or tools that they have made it available online that the researchers can make use of this and test the secret key what you have generated. So if you pass your secret key or the stream of bits you generated from your method, whatever may be the method of generation, you pass your bits through those set of evaluation test cases, the result of those test cases will tell you what are the features that are expected to be in a random secret key, and whether your key submitted passes all those requirements or not. And luckily, because our solution, what we developed, was robust and well thought, the secret keys generated by our mechanisms for many number of bits, for example, it is n equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It means 5 is n is the number of bits generated from each sensor sample. So for all these different cases, the streams, whatever we pass to the NIST entropy test suite, gave a result that our secret keys pass all these requirements. It means it shows that the keys are usable for practical applications in our day-to-day life. And there is a graph which will tell you what will be the result of changing some of the parameters during quantization. For example, we talked about a guard band between two devices, two different bands during quantization. Means it is the width of the band where you discard samples. And what happens to the result if you increase this width or decrease this width? So we come up with all these different kind of combinations, and just for your reference, to show which is the best or ideal settings for our use case. And we also did a use case analysis of a secret key distribution. For this, we mentioned that we considered even attackers who has the same devices and wearing the same number of devices, following the same type of walking style of a user. So with multiple, both male and female volunteers helping for our research experiments. And this particular graph will tell you how the raw data will look like when we merge the data captured from two different persons. Here you can see that the blue and black are the ones which are worn on the same person, but the red is the one which is worn on another person. We call them as adversary. We can clearly see that only the legitimate devices worn on the same body have a very high correlation. It means they have the similar trend of changing the acceleration data, whereas the adversary, he will not be even close to the data expected or the data that is needed to decrypt the vault or extract the key. Finally, we did some performance analysis, like someone may ask a question. So you implemented a solution on the real devices, but is it taking too much of battery, or how quickly it can run? So to answer all those things, we did some evaluation. We implemented our solution on Android-based platform, and we implemented and we measured all these different parameters, like how much energy it consumes for key generation, vault locking, and independent component analysis for the wrist-worn smartwatches, and how much time and energy it takes for vault unlocking. And it turns out that all these data, whatever we obtained from our real experiments, are well within the acceptable range, and they are suitable for practical deployment. And we also did a security analysis, means how is the matching rate of the adversary with the real device, with the legitimate persons. So for a passive adversary, he was not able to cross more than 10% or 15% in any of the cases. But whereas the active imposter means the person who is deliberately trying to mimic the same characteristics or features as the legitimate person, he was able to obtain a little bit more matching characteristics, but it is not sufficient to extract the key from the polynomial. And these graphs will tell you how will be the efficiency of the vault construction and vault locking, unlocking, and the security level implemented by the vault size. Now coming to the conclusion. So in this interesting topic, I briefly described you about one of our work, which will help to generate a secret key on a real smart wearable device, and how securely we can distribute that secret key to other wearable devices worn by the same person. And we have also proposed a detailed method, and we have implemented on a real devices which are off the shelf available in the market. And our implementation and evaluation results show that the solution what we have proposed is suitable for practical deployment and applications. And with this, I would like to conclude my presentation. And thank you everyone for your patience. And I'm happy to answer if you have any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Girish. We'll go ahead and take some time for the questions.
Yes,
We already have few questions. One question from Dr. Chaya Dalela. What wearable devices can we expect that can protect us from COVID-19 pandemic?
Thank you for the question, madam. This question is more or like what type of devices? But if I understood correctly, so your question is what type of devices that can employ our mechanism? So is it two different questions? Because every personal device we wear is carrying a sensitive information. It is now very much suitable for current situation of COVID as well. But because nowadays even government or everyone is coming up with the app which needs to be installed in a mobile phone, and everyone is now thinking that they may be collecting some data or exchanging it to someone else. So it's a kind of privacy issue. But the issue what we talked about in our research is whatever may be the data on your mobile devices or wearable devices, can it be shared securely with the other device of the same person? As long as this main idea addresses your basic question, then I believe that will address your concern.
Thank you. There's another question from Aryan. Can we use this real-time key change facility to make it more secure? What will be the challenges in the same?
Yes, indeed. Actually, it's a real solution which is already available, because as I already mentioned, we have implemented on real devices. So they are readily available in the markets. We just brought some few handphones and smartphones and Google Glass. All of them are Android based, and we built a solution. Every step, vault locking, unlocking, and even independent component analysis. And thanks to the big community of researchers, so we have some of the lightweight libraries available nowadays. So you don't have to do everything from the scratch. So you just make use of some of the open source libraries and build your solution on top of it. And there are some very good open source solutions that can be linked to your solution. So as a researcher, you just focus on your top level solution, and like independent component analysis, it's already a standard method of extracting signal. So that is done by someone else. So you just use that library. And yes, it can be possible to extend our solution to maybe some more level. And if any one of the young researchers are interested to make it more robust, then I'll be very much happy.
Thank you. I'll take a few questions from YouTube viewers. How difficult is it to get the design approved from standardizing agencies, especially in healthcare?
Madam, this question, I think as long as you are abide by the rules and you're following the guidelines of a particular country, like in some particular countries, there will be some restrictions on using some type of cryptographic applications. As long as you are following those guidelines, it is like a normal any other Android application. So nowadays you just install a gaming application on your phone, but you will not ask for it, assuming it is already designed to be working on a device. So same way, our solution is also designed to be working on any of the wearable device that has accelerometer and a wireless connectivity. As long as you have these two, you can implement or customize our solution on any of the IoT devices.
Thank you. Another question. Sir, why have you used vault locking? Can we use any other method for encryption of accelerometer data?
Yes, so this is a good question. So vault locking and unlocking is one of the method of secretly sharing the information or key from one device to other device. So there is another similar concept called as Shamir's secret sharing. So if someone is interested to explore in this research area, they are very much welcome. So just look on these other concepts like as Shamir's secret sharing. So our idea is also based on those concepts. So we developed our idea using those basic primitives, but we came up with another solution, and when we analyzed and evaluated, it worked well for us, and hopefully it will be deployed even in the practical scenarios as well. And obviously, there are more than one ways of implementing a solution. There is only one solution that is suitable for this thing. So in security, the objective is same, but the ways of achieving that objective can be different. So someone else may have another idea. He may follow a different mechanism. So, but at least I will tell you the independent component analysis, extracting the acceleration, extracting the common feature. This should be there for sure. On top of it, for sharing, there are many other methods, which are also some default cryptographic primitives. They can employ it and they can cross verify the performance, which one is easier, which one is time consuming or complex. Yes, it is another research topic if someone is interested to take up. Yeah, see, we already have many research topics out of this discussion today.
Okay, okay, sir, can you suggest some research topics in the area of wearable computing?
Yes, see, nowadays, the devices are becoming more and more complex and more intelligent. The emerging trends now is that what more information you can extract from your day-to-day life or day-to-day data. See, nowadays, till now, nobody even thought that just by monitoring how the device moves, we can extract secrets. So nobody thought of it, but we make use of this and we generated a secret key mechanism. So same way, every time your mobile phone or at least any of the device, it comes with various types of sensors. It has accelerometer, gyroscope, or the pressure sensor, everything. Though this sensor data looks like small, it has a meaning in it, and it captures the context where you capture this data. And a well known, which is trending mechanism in security field now, is context aware security mechanisms. It means you should be able to differentiate between a person's context from the adversary. Suppose if someone tries to remotely hack your device, obviously he's in another place and you have your devices with you. You have a separate context. If you can come up with a solution which will make use of this sensor data, and you can devise a mechanism where all your sensor devices capture the same context which the attacker's device cannot, then that's a method of securing devices. So this is a research direction. Other than this is nowadays the AI and deep learning is trending, but it's up to you where you can make use of those buzzwords. So whether do we really need this or not? Or sometimes is it an overkill on small devices? You just need to make use of this. Suppose if you are analyzing the data offline, then using these very complex mechanisms may be useful. But if you can make them very lightweight and yet working on the wearable devices, that is also very useful and well accepted in the research world. So that's another research domain. And another topic is that all these wearable devices carry sensitive information, and there is always a concern of privacy. So privacy preserving mechanisms for sharing sensitive information among the devices and the external world, external cloud, is another research direction. And yes, I hope this is sufficient enough for today.
It looks like we have covered all our questions. Dr. Girish, is there anything else you want to cover before a wrap up?
First of all, I would like to thank our principal sir and Dr. Arun sir, and also to you, madam, for helping me with this presentation, and also all the faculty members of JSS Academy for putting up a large effort to organize this great event. And I'm honored to be the first speaker today, and I will always be open, so anyone can reach to me anytime, because I am a passionate researcher, so I don't have any boundaries. So researchers don't have any boundaries. So though I'm sitting in another country, so I'm feeling as if I'm sitting next to you in India. So I also plan to visit your academy and to have a face-to-face discussion, and definitely we'll try to see the opportunities to work together and collaborate in future. And even all the researchers and young researchers, academicians, industry people who are listening to this from all over the world and all over the country, I think as long as if you have any questions or if you're interested for any collaboration, and just feel free to contact me, and I'm always open for research. Yes.
That's so nice of you. Thank you so much, Dr. Girish. We are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and experiences with all of us. Your years of research, your depth of understanding, and your ability to present the subject in such an interesting way produced one of the most memorable afternoons for us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Madam, one minute. Dr. Krish Revadigar.
Yes,
Hello.
yes, yes, please.
Thank you for accepting our invitation in your busy schedule and for giving a wonderful session. Thank you once again.
Thank you, thank you, Arun. It's my pleasure, and thanks for inviting me to this wonderful session. Thanks a lot. I look for
Thank
more
you.
opportunities in future also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you once again.
Definitely.
Okay, so
Over
moving
to
along,
Professor Chaya
our
Prabhu.
next, yes, sir. Our next speaker for today's session is Dr. Vipin Balyan. He has already joined us. Dr. Vipin Balyan, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello, ma'am.
Okay,
Good
sir.
afternoon,
Hello, and
everyone.
very good afternoon to you, sir. Okay,
Can you
I'd
see me
like
now?
to introduce Dr. Vipin Balyan to the participants. Dr. Vipin Balyan received Bachelor's in Electronics and Communication with honors in 2003, Master's in Electronics and Networking from La Trobe University, Melbourne, Australia in 2006. He received his doctorate in 2013. He has worked as an assistant professor senior grade for 7 years in JP Education System, and he is currently working as a senior lecturer in the Department of Electrical, Electronics and Computer Engineering of Cape Peninsula University of Technology, Cape Town, South Africa. He has published more than 50 research papers and received Young Researcher rating in 2019 from National Research Foundation, South Africa. He received Erasmus and ICM Erasmus funding in 2018 for collaboration with Technical University Sofia, Bulgaria, and University UPEC Paris. He is closely associated with French South African Technology Institute for Satellites in South Africa. His research area includes NOMA, LORA, satellite communications, etc. His topic for today's session is non-orthogonal multiple access for 5G and beyond networks. I now invite Dr. Vipin Balyan for his presentation. Over to Dr. Vipin Balyan.
First of all, I would like to say thank you to for this opportunity to me, by which I can share my research ideas and the information which I receive in the form of education as I go from my bachelor's degree to the PhD degree, and then now I'm supervising PhD students, and I'm a part of a research group which is French South African Association for Technology Institute, which basically makes satellites, and they already launched 2 satellites. They are ZAQ-1 and ZAQ-2. However, they are CubeSats, which are specifically used for certain applications. So they are not like the satellites launched by India, but they are a small CubeSats which receive a little bit of information, and those satellites are built with the help of students only. So it's students and the staff members who work together to make those satellites. So I'm a part of that research group, and I work on satellite communication also, but currently I'm working more on can say the non-orthogonal multiple access and LoRa, which is low range wireless access networks. So these are basically 2 topics which I'm currently working on, but there are some students associated with me which are working on some other topics. So I would like to give a brief kind of overview how NOMA works and how it is used in mobile communication nowadays, and the work which I have done with my students and my colleagues on the NOMA. So I like to share my screen. And
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your slides are visible. Please put them on. Yes, sir. Full screen mode.
they are on full screen mode from my side.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now it is.
Okay. So it's basically NOMA stands for your non-orthogonal multiple access. And this is basically, as the name indicates, this is a non-orthogonal multiple access technology. Before it, we were using CDMA technology, which was using your orthogonal signals. The advantage of using orthogonal signals is that there was less interference as compared to the non-orthogonal signals, but they suffer from poor capacity, or you can say they have that kind of problem that they cannot include more number of users. However, your non-orthogonal multiple access NOMA and your orthogonal multiple access, which was I'm saying CDMA, they were basically giving the complete available capacity to the users. So this topic is broadly falls in the field of communication, and this is the recent trend in the field of communication nowadays, specifically wireless and mobile communication. So this topic is also merging with cognitive radio also. This topic you can merge with your visible light communication, which is acronym is VLC also. And it is going with cooperative communication, cognitive radio. So these are certain things which you can bring together with NOMA and you can work on. And separately, you can also work on NOMA also. So I'd like to give you what are the contents of this slide, or you can say the lecture. I'll give you a brief introduction why we are using NOMA for certain things and what are the basics of NOMA, and then the details of the research topics on NOMA. So basically NOMA is a technology for 5G network, and why we need it. As we are going towards 5G, the mobility of the users and the amount of network data they require from the network is increasing, or you can say the traffic is getting bursty. So in order to solve the problem that bursty network is creating, we need to move towards 5G. And the user requirements are increasing in the form of that they want to talk to someone while they are on phone, they are moving in a car, they are maybe moving in a fast moving train, or they are in aeroplane also, like they want to use WhatsApp and all those things. So in that case, they require more amount of data and with higher mobility. So basically you can say when we are moving from 4G to 5G, the throughput requirement increasing, the latency they want to decrease, and they want to have a data which is more reliable. So the peak data rate which they require will be around 10 to 20 gigabits. And if I compare it with 4G, then the requirement was, can say 10% less than of that. So sorry, it's 10 gigs more than that. So user experience data will be around 1 gigabits per second, and it's 100 times more than what a user using 4G was using for itself. So in 2013, this entity Docomo, which is a German company, the researchers investigated NOMA, which is used for both uplinks and downlinks. So there's details of the NOMA. Briefly, I'm going to provide you so that if you want to do research, I'm basically taking this topic specifically targeting the people who want to start their research, or the fourth year students, if they are doing their BTech or if they are in the first year of their masters, if they want to do some research. Because usually in India, I also belong from India, and I saw the trend was that the people usually do a certain type of research, like they use a specific microcontroller to provide a movement or certain things. They don't focus on research in that way, that they can provide a good simulation which can provide good results, and then they can be used by the industry to solve certain problems which are in the mobile networks which are facing currently. So I will suggest to the fourth year students basically so to go through the topic. And nowadays most of the journals and the Explorer, IEEE Explorer also, they allow you access freely without paying for it. So you can download the research paper from them. Like Springer, I have seen that Springer allow it, that also elsewhere also allowed it. So you can download the papers easily, and then you can do a brief review of the things, and then you can maybe target one of the research topic which I'm going to discuss today. So we were on CDMA. So CDMA was working. If I compare with uplink, so which is a multiple access technique in which all users were spreading their signal, covering the full bandwidth. So in CDMA also, we were using the full bandwidth of the network. While decoding on signal, the CDMA user was basically treating other users' signal as interference, or you can say it's a form of noise. And the processor of the mobile phone, it was taking more power, and the battery life of the mobile phone was reducing as we keep on receiving the signal. And you can see that the CDMA phone was more expensive as compared to the normal phones. So instead of this, if we want to go for capacity as an enhancement, we can use a term which is known as successive interference cancellation, which is used at the receiver after decoding signal of one user. Its effect on remaining signal is subtracted before next user is decoded. So what was happening in NOMA is that if a signal is generated at the base, comes to the base station, because we are talking about uplink, and the another thing is downlink. So uplink, I'm telling to those users who are not well aware of the difference between uplink and downlink. So we have a base station and we have a mobile station with the mobile which we use. So mobile station is basically the device which we are using in our day-to-day life, but all the things as a user, when I'm using a term user, it's basically related to mobile station. So when I'm sending any information from my mobile station to the base station, that is called as uplink. And when base station is transferring any information to the mobile station, then that is downlink. So in uplink, what happens is that the different users send the information to the base station. So base station does the successive interference cancellation at the base station. It decodes the first signal and then it moves to the next signal. Just take an example of two signals at a time. So if we have two signals, so what it will do is that it will apply SI to the complete information it will receive. It will receive the complete information together in the form of one signal. So it will decode the first signal, and then from the total signal, it will subtract the signal of the decoded signal from the total received signal. So the second user signal can be decoded easily without doing any complex mechanism or without using any complex algorithm. In downlink, the same thing is done by your mobile, but your mobile does it in a very different way. It looks at the power level. So if a user is close to the base station and there are another user which is far from the base station, so what it was doing is that, so the mobile station which is close to the base station receive the signal, it apply SIC on that signal, it can easily detect the power of the second signal. So it removes that power from that and then use its own signal. The second user, when the information will reach the second user, or you can say it might reach to both of them with a small gap. So while one user is processing, the second user also will be processing the signal. So in that way, when it will received by the second user, because the second user is far from the base station, the effect of the power of the first user is less on the second user. So it can easily consider that information of first user as a noise and it can discard it easily. So this is the advantage of using SIC. So what happens is that we use AWGN channel for downlink, and AWGN is additive white Gaussian noise. I hope that communication people are aware of it. So it's a form of, can say, noise we generate in our simulations which is basically close to the real time noise which happens in the actual mobile environment. So there's a single transmitter and multiple receiver. So whatever the signal we are sending at any time instant m, so this complete signal will be received by a mobile. YKM is equals to HKM. HK is your channel gain. So different user will have different channel gains. So if I'm talking about first one, so then it will be H1. If I'm talking about second one, then it will be H2. So XM, so whatever the signal the base station is sending, and this part is related to the AWGN noise. So WKM is obviously close somewhere to your, it's a circularly symmetric complex Gaussian random signal with zero mean and a variance equals to n node. And this is your total transmitted signal. So this signal, or can say the channel gain HK, decides the information received by the different users. So if I'm using first one, then this H1 is closed user, and this user will have an excellent channel gain. As we go away from the base station, the channel gain keeps on decreasing. So when it keeps on decreasing, the channel gain of the second user will be less. So the signal which it will receive at its receiver, it will have less effect of the first user signal. So in this way, your SIC is implemented. And at the mobile stations, the receiver decodes the signal to extract own data, and the rates, if I'm talking about only two users, the rates which these two mobiles by which they will be transferring or receiving the information will be somewhere between this. So it will be RK is always less than log of 1 plus P. P is the total transmitted power of the base station, and HK square is basically your channel gain, and N naught is your variance of, can say, your Gaussian noise. So question which arises here, if I'll be a listener, then if two users are in close vicinity to each other, so that their channel gains are almost similar, then what will happen? So what will happen is that one of the user will start decoding the signal, and when a user can successfully decodes its signal from superimposed signal Y, and another signal user with same SNR, how two users will decode its signal? User 2 can directly subtract the signal of user 1 from totally superimposed signal Y. That is, SIC can be implemented directly. So one signal decodes the signal, and the another signal subtracts the first user signal from the total signal. So what will happen is that the second user again need nodes to perform any SIC. The transmitter, another thing is that the transmitter encodes the information for each user over the entire bandwidth. So the main thing which NOMA is providing to the users, if I compare with the previous orthogonal multiple access technology, is that it's providing again the same bandwidth. So the difference is in the power level, and the total power of the base station is equally divided among the users. I'm taking an example of two users, but if we have 3, 4, 5 users, then it will be P1 plus P2 plus P3 plus P4 and so on, depending upon the number of users. But as the number of users increases in the network, obviously the spectral efficiency, which is the number of users it can accommodate at a time, reduces. So downlink AWG and channel again. So it's user 2 signal is treated as noise by user 1. Treats and rate of communication is R1 is equals to log 1 plus, if I have to find the rate of user 1, then it will be log of 1 plus power of first user H1 square, because we are decoding the rate of the first user. So we will use the channel gain of first user and divided by power of second user. But again, we are decoding this power at the user 1. So basically we will use the channel gain of this user only, means user 1, and then the effect of your noise. So if we can write how we find out it from here is that it's coming from here. If you look at this formula, so it is log 1 plus P1 plus P2 H1 square divided by N naught, and in log minus log 1 plus P2 H1 square divided by N naught. So if in log, if you remember that in log subtraction mean, then we are dividing it by each other. So this will come in up, you can say numerator, and this will come in denominator. So after subtracting the user 1 signal from superimposed signal, the user 2 can support this much rate. So this is basically the rate of user 1, and this is the rate of user 2. Why? Because here the effect of the user 2 power is there. But when you look at the power of, can say, the channel gain of user 2 as compared to user 1, the effect of the power reduces because the user 1 power is less as compared to user 2 power. So that is treated as a noise, and the effect of that noise is considered here. So if we see how that signals are superimposed with each other. So suppose I have two signals and we are using QPSK for it. The constellation using QPSK of a user 2 is superimposed on the top of user 1 as shown below. Then if I have x2 on this direction and x1 on this direction, so I'm using basically constellation in this way, that my second user signal is this and first user signal is that, then your total x will be an additive sum of this in the vector form. And at the receiver, the transmitted constellation point of user 1 is decoded first, followed by decoding of the constellation point of user 2. So it's basically x1 here. So you will decode x1 first, and then from y you can subtract the effect of it's x1 cap. So x1 cap means the signal which is received at the user 1 is decoded first. So it's basically in the form of diagrams. If I have to explain this thing, then we have a base station and we have a user 1 and a user 2. So here the channel gain of user 2 is better than the channel gain of user 1. So you can say that S2 square is greater than H1 square. So what will happen is that because S2 square is having more power, so SIC of U1 signal will take place here. So it will decode the signal of user 1 first, and then it will get its own signal after decoding the signal of user 1. And user 1 will get its signal directly from there. So it need not to perform any effect, because here the distance is more of H1 as compared to H2. So the user which one is at a far distance will have more power as compared to the user which is at close distance. So what will happen is that the user which is at close distance will perform SIC to detect the effect of other users' information, and then it will subtract that information from its own signal, total signal, and then it will get its own signal. But the effect of this user signal on this user will keep on decreasing as the distance increases, and it will be treated as a noise. So it can decode its signal directly. So if I compare this thing with non-orthogonal schemes, so if the rate of user 1 is this one in bits per second per hertz, then here for orthogonal schemes, it is alpha times log 1 plus P1 H1 whole square divided by alpha. So there's a factor of alpha which is coming into role as if I compare it with this. And here R1, the effect of this power is coming into the picture. And here again, the effect of your alpha is coming into the picture. And alpha is the fraction of the bandwidth devoted to each of the users. So if alpha is the bandwidth associated with this one, then 1 minus alpha will be associated with this one. So orthogonal schemes rate depends on the bandwidth. But in orthogonal schemes, the total bandwidth is available to all the signals all the times. So that's why the rate, you will see it in the next slides, that the rates will be higher of orthogonal signals, non-orthogonal signals as compared to orthogonal signals. So if I compare this, the rate of user 1 and rate of user 2, and for the orthogonal schemes, it has been considered by me that P1 and P2 are equal, which is equal, means the power is equally divided among them. And the signal to noise ratio of user 1 is 0 dB and signal to noise ratio of user 2 is 20 dB. Then you can see that the effect, the rate, it's going close to 1. When this one is 1, this is also rate of user 2 is also close to 6.5 something. So you can achieve in this way, while this follow almost a straight line. And in this one, you can see that obviously when you will increase the rate of one user, there will be a decrease in the rate of second user. And that effect will come due to the different power levels. So if you will increase the power level of a certain user, the rate associated with it increases. But here, due to the orthogonal nature of the signals, you have to provide the equal power to all the signals. So that's the basically disadvantage of using orthogonal schemes. As you go far away from the base station, you require more power. So if the base station is not providing more power, then what will happen is that the signal strength will decrease and the rate by which you can send the information will decrease. Again, there's another way of showing the same thing in the form of your powers. So you can see that here for NOMA, we are using complete bandwidth for both the users. And for this one, we are using half portion of the bandwidth for 2 users. However, there is a slight difference between the power levels of both of them, but they don't depend upon the exact distance by which they are separated from the base station. However, in this case, the power level depends upon their distance from the base station. So for this one, if we are applying this method, then you can say that depending upon the power level, as I told you earlier also, you will receive the complete bandwidth at the receiver also. So the information will be transmitted from one side to another using the full bandwidth, or you can say full network bandwidth is used by the users, are used by the users. While in this case, the bandwidth again, when it will be received, the signal needs to be separated in the form of bandwidth also, or you can say the frequency by which they are received. So NOMA capacity, we can say boundary depends on the differences in the channel gains and power allocation factor. So if you have a better channel conditions, then you will get less power. If you have a poor channel condition, you will get more power. And why the channel gains, or can say your channel is good or bad, it depends upon your distance, usually from your base station. Sometimes it's maybe due to some fading, maybe the interference in the environment, like can say clouds. Like today, I'm in Cape Town and it's cloudy weather here. It's about to rain also. So due to that, there's a difference in the signals which my mobile will be receiving. So if compared to a user who will be sitting in a place where sunlight is there. So in this way, you can say that it depends on the channel gain, and depending upon the channel gain, the power is divided to among the users. So if we take example in the form of this, if we have a power which is divided among the user depending upon their channel gains, and we have a user 1 which decodes the SIC of user E2, can say user equipment 2, and then it decodes its own signal as I explained earlier. And we consider these two signal to noise ratio for these two users. If we are using OFDMA, we can say OFDMA is orthogonal frequency division multiple access, then the bandwidth between these two users is half. Then rates are 3.33 for the user which is closer to the base station, and the rate of second user is 0.50 bits per second per hertz for the user which is away from the base station. You again using the same thing for NOMA, same configuration. The user 1 and user 2 both will share equal bandwidth from the network. We can say they are using the complete bandwidth, and the power level of the power level of these two users are different. The close user has less power, the far user has more power, and the rate of users can say is 32% up for user 1, and it's 48% up for user 2. So NOMA achieves superior spectral efficiency also compared to OMA, which I'm going to discuss now. So these are the basics which I'm going to summarize now, which I went through. That NOMA employs multiplexing in power domain. Signals are superimposed at the transmitter. Signals are SIC is employed at the RX, means receiver, when we are in downlink, and SIC is employed at the base station when we are in uplink. A pair of users can be served by NOMA if their channel gains are considerably different. Again, power allocation plays an important role in improving the spectral efficiency. So depending upon the power allocation, you can increase the number of users in the network. Oops, okay. So if we go generalization from 2 users to k users, and the can say channel gains are sorted in this form, that h1 square is lesser than h2 square and hk square, and hk means the value of instantaneous channel of one user, second user, third user, and so on up to k users. Then the capacity regions can be obtained by rk, and it's equals to, we brought a summation things. So if I am on kth user, then the users for which I have to detect the signal is from k plus 1 to the last users which is in the network. So all the users which are before k users will be considered as a noise, and they will be in this part n node. So the SIC will be performed for the users which are away from the users at which we are currently. So noise from other users after SIC. The cancellation order at receiver is always to decode the weaker users before decoding its own data. So suppose I'm standing close to the base station, and there are some people who are standing away from the base station, or can say away from me also. So the signals those people will be receiving will be at low power level. So we can easily detect their signal. When I'm saying low power level, it doesn't means that they will be receiving the signal at low power level. It means the base station will provide higher power to them, and that higher power can be easily decoded by the receiver. Let's take an example that we have users, and these users are in this form, that user 1 is the farthest user, and then user 2, user 1 up to user capital L, and they are all connected to the base station, and base station is providing the power level depending upon their distance from it. So this user is the farthest user, and U2 is the next one, and the UL is the last user. Or you can say this is the closest user in the network. So what this will user needs to do is that it will perform SIC for all the users which are coming after it. And this user will do SIC for all the signals which are coming after it, and then it will detect its own signal. So if I take an example of U2, it will do SIC for U1, and then it will detect its own signal. And the U1 signal, which is at the cell edge, which is a most common acronym used, then for this user, it needs not to do any SIC, because the signal which it will be receiving will be of very low power for these users. Or you can say the channel gain of this user is very low, so it will not be detect these information, the information which are meant for these users, as clear as a signal, or they will be considered as a noise. Now, what are the research topic, or which are the topics which you can work on this? So there's a, can say, mathematical analysis of certain things which you can perform for NOMA, and that the first one is your outage performance. And the outage performance is basically like an outage event in terms of probability. Like just take an example of that electricity will go from this time to this time. So how much is the probability of it? So considering that effect, you can calculate the outage performance of the signal, that whether it will be able to detect its own signal clearly or not, or it will detect the signal with noise or without noise. So if I consider a cell of radius RD with a transmitter and some n randomly deployed users, the outage at the ith user will be occurred if the ith user cannot decode any of the users of lower order. So if I'm not able to decode the signal of the lower order signal, uh, lower order users, then I will be receiving my information, can say, in the form of noise. So that is basically an outage event. So I must be able to recover my own signal from the original signal. To define EI as the event that ith user cannot detect the jth user's message, and where your j is between 1 and I. Sorry, it's written as L, but it's G. Then the outage probability is at the ith user will be this 1 minus. So the probability to find that is that I combine intersection of all these events will be considered as one probability, and then I consider that one is the value of probability. As all of you know, that probability is always when we are 100% sure. So we consider that we will receive a signal by a probability, can say 1. So the probability of all outage events are combined together, and then it's subtracted from the 100% probability, or you can say 1. Then you can get the probability that whether a user will be detected, will be able to detect its signal correctly or not. And in terms of time, you can say if we decode it, then it will come out to be in this form: tau I divided by I, eta I, and then we use a symbol phi I and raised to the power I. So tau I is basically n, where n is the number of randomly deployed users, and I is the ith user which is detecting its own signal. And n minus I, it's basically the formula of, you can say, NCR, working close to that. And then eta is equals to 1 upon RD. RD is your radius, and L denotes your the events, the users which are coming after it. And beta L is the parameter which will decide whether eta has a value greater than 1 or lesser than 1. So this is the outage performance of a NOMA. So if we consider OMA with the performance of your user 1 and user 2. So user 1 is a weak user, has a weak channel, assign more power, performs better at low SNR, User 2 is a strong user, has a strong channel, assigned less power, performs better at high SNR. And if I compare its signal to noise ratio and outage probability of this, then you can see clearly that user 2 signal to when we are increasing the signal to noise ratio, then the outage probability is basically decreasing. So lesser is the outage probability, the better is the information received by that signal. In a similar way, if we see NOMA 1 user, you can see that fall comes at a very early value of signal to noise ratio. So the better is the signal to noise ratio, the lesser is the outage probability. So these are the certain things which you can deploy in a network. You can select, I'll show you an example. Like I have done some sent a journal paper on the same thing, but considering different types of users in the network, and then using that, you can set up a network and you can provide certain things, certain parameters, maybe fading environment, you can use relay fading or another Retian. So all these events will lead to a different form of research. It will more be a mathematical research as compared to the real-time research. But here I have a base station which can provide access to 10 users at a time. So I'm using a base station in lab environment where I can change certain parameters, and then the different types of outage probability, and there's some certain things which we are going to do, like cooperative communication also, which we did. So cooperative communication is basically the another form of doing the same thing, but what's happening in this case is that if a user is too far from the base station, then some other user which is close to the base station can help that user to receive the information correctly. So the users with better channel condition decode the messages for the users with poor connections to the base station. Can be implemented by UWB and BT, strong users to weak users communication. It's performed in two phases, because obviously if some other person is doing work for you, then obviously cannot be in one phase. So in that way, it comes out in two phases. There's a direct transmission, BS to NOMA users. So there is a direct transmission to the direct users, and then the BS sends your signal to BS sends n messages if there are n NOMA users, and cooperative phase done in n-1 time slots are required. At first time slot, the nth user sends n-1 messages. At second time slot, the n-1th user sends n-2 messages. So what happens is that in the first phase, there's a direct communication to the NOMA users, and in the second phase, the cooperative NOMA is employed. So in the time slots are given in which the cooperative communication can happen in the NOMA network. So the work can be done to improve the efficiency during this n-1, n-2 slots for different types of users. And there's some other thing which you can add to it, that you can use a relay. So relay is basically another form of base station. However, the base station provide power to the relay. So there is a portion of power which has been provided to the which is provided by the base station to the relay, and then relay can act as a base station for the users which are away from the base station, or you can say they cannot do direct communication. So you can use two-hop communication in that also. So if you are using cooperative NOMA communication with cooperative communication with NOMA, then you can see that there is this improvement in non-cooperative NOMA performs badly as compared to the cooperative NOMA. And you can see that this downfall means the improvement as we are increasing the signal to noise ratio, or the probability of having an outage event decreases considerably. Another technique is NOMA with beamforming. NOMA beamforming allow two users or many users to share a single beamforming vector. I'm taking just an example of two users. What's the problem? Which when we form a beam, there are certain problems which might occur. There's an inter-beam interference from users of other beams, and there is an intra-beam interference from users sharing the same beam forming vector. So these are the two things which you can address while you are doing beam forming. There's a solution of it, clustering, and then another one is power allocation algorithm based on correlation among users and channel gain difference. So the solution to this is that you can do clustering. When I'm saying clustering is usually is that they pair a weak user with a high power user, and then there will be, so they arrange the users depending upon their power level. So the weakest signal is combined clustered with the strongest signal. Second weakest is combined with the second strongest signal, and so on. So the clustering form in that way. And power allocation, this is the thing I was telling, based on correlation among users and channel gains difference. Advantage of using it is improves the sum capacity compared to conventional multi-user beamforming system. Also guarantees weak users capacity to ensure user fairness. And it's done in this way, that there's a transmitter and then there's a cluster 1 which is using a vector beamforming vector W1. This one is using beamforming vector W2 and Wn. So there's a one cluster 1. I'm using only two users, so I'm just giving an example of two users. So there will be two users receiving the, here it's denoted as Y11, Y12. However, the signal sent by the transmitter or the base station remains same. But when it travels through the air, it changes some form. While it's received at this user, it changes, it might be in some other form with added noise or something, when it's received by the second user. But this Y is sent by the, can say, transmitter, and it is received as Y11 here or maybe Y12 here. So these are the users in cluster must have high correlation and high channel gain differences. High correlation users ensure that they use same beam forming vector. So if the users have the very high correlation, then they use the same beam forming vector W. High channel gain difference ensure the use of NOMA. So if two users have different channel, can say very big difference between their channel gains, then those channel can say users can be combined with in the form of a cluster easily. And that brings the advantage of using NOMA, because if the users have high correlation among them, then you need to use OMA there. Another work which you can do is NOMA with space-time code. A cell use as poor quality user usually experience a lower data rate. A coordinated multi-point transmission and reception techniques are usually used to increase transmission rate to cell as users. So what happens is that this base station is there, and then there's a base station here. You can say this user C is a cell as user for this base station also and this base station also. So these coordinated multi-points means that this signal, okay, this user will receive the information from both the base stations at a time, and they will be space-time coded. And why they will be space-time coding? Because they are being generated from different places, from this base station and this base station. So there will be a difference in their space, and they will be received at the user at different time. That's why there's a space-time coded signal. So in this, if a poor quality user is there, then it can be served by two or more than two base stations at a time to improve the quality of reception. So the work can be done to increase the reception at the user C in the form of, can say, reducing the outage event. So maybe they can be we can use specific signals which we can send in the form of space-time coding. So there's a Alamoti space-time coded signals also which you can use, but you can generate, maybe you can try orthogonal variable spreading factor codes also. You can try Walsh codes also. So the work can be in the form that you try different types of signals which can be sent from the base station so that they do not interfere when they reach the user C if they are carrying the same information. So the remarks, or can say the conclusion for this, is that NOMA is getting huge attention to the researchers for 5G, and diversity is coming from power domain. Many results which are done by different researchers are in favor of NOMA. There's an outage probability is very low, some capacity is very high, and there's another term, ergodic capacity, which is also very good. So, and weak users rate guarantee. So a weak user also gets a certain rate guarantee in the network. For this, SIC is mandatory. So you have to use SIC. Signal superposition, SC, and decoding is the game changer for NOMA. But SC is not new, can say, because we are using it from last 30-40 years. Higher order modulation is a kind of SC scheme. Impact of SIC is error propagation, and practical considerations are power allocations, mobility, and sub-band scheduling. So these are the certain things which are advantage of NOMA as compared to the previous technology which we're using earlier, is like OMA and in the form of CDMA or GSM. But the use of NOMA is not limited to your mobile communication also. It's getting attention for your satellite communication also nowadays. So I'm working on many aspects of NOMA, and I will be ready to help anyone who wants to do any kind of research on it. And my research work is not limited to NOMA only. It's related to most of the communication related topics, like I told you earlier also, LoRa also, and VLC also. So if anyone wants to start a research, you are more than welcome to use me as a, can say, form of guidance. I can help you in sorting out the research papers also. And because I have a, can say, complete reviewed part of NOMA available with me in the form of, if you really need it for satellite communication, if you need it for your mobile communication, you want it for cognitive radio. So all of you are more than welcome to have any query regarding it. And now, if you have any question regarding it, then please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Balyan. We have some questions. Dr. Chaya wants to know how the capacity can be further increased by applying NOMA in MIMO systems.
For MIMO, yeah, MIMO is also another thing which is you can combine with NOMA. What happens is MIMO is that you are sending the same information with the help of multiple antennas, and you have different receiving multiple antennas also. So when we were using it in the CDMA technology, the MIMO, so we were sending orthogonal signals. Here we are sending non-orthogonal signals. So non-orthogonal signals at the different receivers at a time. If we, like we were doing in CDMA also, if we divide the information which are sending from the transmitting antenna, the receiver, because receiver will be performing SIC for one type of signal at a time, and then you can perform the SIC for the different signal which you received from another. Obviously there will be a combination of different signals at that point. So by dividing the information which is non-orthogonal, the advantage of orthogonal, using orthogonal over orthogonal is that you need not to keep the shape or the information in the form in which it was sent. So by doing that, you can improve the spectral efficiency of the, can say, network in the form that you can accommodate more number of users. That is the main advantage of using NOMA, because we are not working on the frequency part, we are working on the power part. So the different users will have different powers. So complete bandwidth is available to all the users. Obviously, there will be a decrease in the amount of rate by which you are sending the information, but there will not be a limitation in the form of the number of users you can accommodate at a time.
Thank you. Another question from Dr. Gayatri Sakya. Is there any option to merge NOMA with massive MIMO with terahertz range?
Sorry?
Is there any option to merge NOMA with massive MIMO with terahertz range?
For this, frankly saying, I never went that much deep into it, because the research is limited to MIMO on NOMA till now.
Okay.
I never tried for massive MIMO till now, but if she's asking for it, then I'll go through it. I'll see it. What's the scope of using you can say massive MIMO for that also. But
Okay,
I'm
thank
not
you so much.
able to answer it right now.
It's okay. Thank you so much. Dr. Balian, a few of the participants want to get connected with you on email ID. Can we share your email ID with them?
Yes, not a problem, not a problem.
Okay, thank you
Not a
so
problem.
much.
There are opportunities. I just want to say specifically to the students, if they are part of this thing also, that usually as an Indian, we usually target the universities which are in USA, UK or Australia. But you can easily target the universities because they are in top 400 or 500 in the worldwide list in South Africa, specifically in Cape Town. So like, so in that way, if you're targeting only the universities of USA, then you will have a limitation of in that way that when you will apply for a job or something tomorrow, then you don't have an option of getting green card easily. But here, if you are doing something in the field which is rare, or I'll say communication is here rare, wireless communication, then you will have an opportunity to get a green ID here very easily. I received my green ID within 6 months. So I'm not telling just to give it in a different way, but I have seen students in India when I was there that they target only US, UK or Australia. I also did my master's from Australia. So I'll not say them wrong, but it's very, can say a long and can say too much money you have to spend to get into those countries. But as compared to specifically US and Australia, I will say you have to pay a lot of money. So you can target the countries like South Africa also, which they have a lot of opportunities in the terms of can say scholarship also.
Okay.
So
Dr.
that will be
Balian,
an easy route for them.
Dr. Balian, do we have India, South Africa joint research ventures?
They come time to time. There's a NRF National Research Foundation. If you will search nrf.ac.za, then you will be able to. I'll type it somewhere, and then if you will search it somewhere, then you will get the different types of calls which comes like every 6 months, 3 months, that you can go for different ventures. Like it's not limited to South Africa. There's Erasmus. If you have seen in my profile, I mentioned Erasmus. So they are also European funding also, which you can do in with European people also. Because I went for two. One was in Paris, another one was in Bulgaria. So you can apply for those also. It's not like that only people from certain countries can apply for that. Like Erasmus funding is open for everyone. In a similar way, there are certain calls in South Africa which is open for everyone. However, they provide funding to people from outside countries. Can say if there are 100 applications, you will get only one or two applications which will be approved. But yeah, there will be approval. There are approval. I'm part of those committees also. So I know that how those things they do there. Students get scholarship for their PhD also, their masters also. So all kind of scholarship is available. I have to say it in that way that in India, when you are not in a government university, then we are not aware of those facilities. They don't let us know those things. Otherwise, I'm 100% sure that those opportunities are in India also from DST. But the people who are working in the government organization or government institutes, they don't let us to take a share of it. But here, most of the universities are government universities, so there's a equal share among people here.
Thank you, Dr. Vipin Balyan. On behalf of Department of Electronics and Communication, JSSCT Noida, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak to our participants. Your lecture on NOMA for 5G was very interesting and informative, and thank you so much for sharing with us the opportunities available in South Africa. We'll certainly be in touch with you in future. Thanks once again for being with us. I now request our HOD, Dr. Arun Kumar, to take over. Over to Dr. Arun Kumar.
Thank you, Professor Chagro.
Hello, sir.
First, I would like to thank Dr. Vipin Balyan. In your busy schedule, you accepted our invitation and you made this session, and it was wonderful. And most of the researchers want to pursue their postdoctorate and they want to go for PhD. So you are given very good information about the research opportunities at your place. And I expect some collaborative work along with the JSS Institute, sir, along with you.
Surely. That will happen. I want to say thanks to Dr. Chandra Shankar for giving me this opportunity, and to the electronics department of JSS Noida
Thank
also.
You, sir.
And I visited Noida several times when I was working in JIT Noida. I was a part of JIT Noida. So I visited several times. There are a couple of friends who are working there. So it was a nice experience going to JSS Noida also. And I'll say that it totally happened due to Dr. Chandra Shankar that I'm a part of it, and I would like to say thanks to him to
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome, Dr.
Very nice session, sir, and very informative. And I think most of our students will definitely get benefited what you have given the information, and definitely we will connect you in future, and hope that from South Africa side we will also get the same opportunity so that we can go for the project or some grant purpose or some collaborative research to India and South Africa.
Surely, if I have some information in the form of some collaboration, I'll share with you. I'll send you the link whenever I'll receive something in the form of any collaboration with the Indian subpart.
Thank you. With that, we conclude this event. On behalf of Department of Electronics and Communication, JSS City Noida, we appreciate you being here. Please remember to submit today's attendance through the Google form. The link will remain active till 5 p.m. today. Thanks once again for joining us today, and we'll see you tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. for the morning session and 5:30 p.m. for the evening session.
Okay.
Thank
you. Have a nice day. Enjoy. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Meeting end करते हैं?